blown up or what? No, it's just close over here. Okay, pull back a little bit so I can see what I gotta do. Okay, so here's the drill bit. Okay, so we're gonna go down a little ways. Not sure exactly how deep we're gonna go. So I'm not sure how deep that is right now because I can't see because I'm inside of a hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move the handle right here. Move that sucker over. Now we can go down as far as we want to. You can see how deep they drilled. Looks to me like they went about that deep right there. Put our stop right there. Go down against the stop now, see? So now that would be that deep. So that's not quite as deep as that hole over there, but it's close. So now we know where we're at. Pull it up. Now we crank the table over here back to our 0 point, because we zeroed it. Close enough. Okay, now we can drill. So this goes down this far in the hole. We got that much more to go. Cut out the rest of the bad hole that was in there. Okay. Okay. Now we look at the drill and see how much deeper we want to go. What do we got here? There we go. See how we can go a little deeper if we want to. So we're threaded right to here. We don't like to go just a tick deeper. Go that much more right there. Go ahead and hook it down right here and we're done. And that looks about the depth that they had it at. So now you can see that the hole there is not quite all the way to the bottom of the hole, but it's close to it. That's how deep they threaded it to begin with. So that would be the correct amount of engagement here in the thread. Going by what they did before. Now if you only go in there just a little ways, here, it'll pull back up pretty easy. So you do weaken the stand a little bit by drilling it, but you go down deep. Now when you put the hole back inside the threaded hole, it'll make the stand strong again because you'll have this piece of steel down the center of it, so it's like a dowel. So even though it's doing work, it's also supporting at the same time. So it's not as weak as it could be, but it's, it is what it is. It could be weaker and it could be stronger, but it'd be nice if it wasn't screwed up. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, this is a U-drill, so put back your drills in the right spot and you know what you have. Okay, takes care of that. Okay, now we need a 7/16 tap. So I have to go over here and find a tap. Somewhere over there is a tap. Drill back. These are pretty much in order. They start small and work their way up. So you want something big like that. These are pretty hard to read because they're all gone. So I'm just going to measure the tap and see what it is. So 437 is, or 437 is what you want for 7/16 or something like that. It's 443, so that would be a 7/16. It's obviously coarse, and this has not been modified for a bottoming tap yet because it's got a point on it, but that'll probably match the hole over there. Scooby's back. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and do this. So that's going to go right into that hole right there. And this is where I pissed everybody off with power tap. Boom. Some people get nervous when I do this for some reason. And yes, I have screwed stuff up and broken taps off before. With a 3-phase drum motor, I can reverse it and stop it instantly, if you noticed. And this being a hand torque chuck, it unscrewed two at the same time. And it looks like we were not quite bottomed out, but close to it. So it was getting down there, but it wasn't all the way down yet. Okay, so now what I do is I pull it out, clean the threads up, re-lube it, and go back in again. Come on, get out of the hole. Here's got some threads in there. Now I can either work right here with the drill chuck in the way, or I can move it this way or that way to get more room. So move it this way. Blow the tap off. I'm going to blow our hole out, and you can blow with a standard nozzle or a fine tip when it gets way down deep. So this is good for blowing external, but going into a hole is not as good. If you put this tap, this one in there, you go all the way down, you can blow the hole completely out. Now this hole not being a blind hole, this one will work fine, but we got this one here if we need it. A little bit of oil in here again. Center back up. And go down the rest of the way now. Make a little more access because the truck's not out of the way yet. Speed it up a little bit. And now we go a little deeper. And that is about it right there. So that's pretty much, I stopped just in time because I don't want to go any further down than that. So you can see how it's in the bottom of the hole right down here. Now if you were to keep forcing this down deeper, it'll actually take this tap and it'll turn it sideways like that. And you can also blow the whole side of this way, which would really piss off somebody if we did that. So it's a good thing we didn't do that. I get pretty good reactions, and I know about how deep you can go by looking, so looks like I timed it just right. Okay, so now I'm going to blow it out again. So now we got a tapped hole. We now have threads, see? Yeah, you see how deep it goes? You can't see the threads down there, but the tap was all the way down. Now if I ground the tap to more of a bottoming tap, which means if I ground this thing off right here to about where my thumb is, then we go in deeper, I'd pick up another thread, do a thread and a half. Okay, here's our bolt right here we're going to use. Pretty tight, nice good thread. Just a little clearance, but not too much. That deep. Okay, so that's not quite bottomed out, but close to it. That's probably about as far as we go. Now, is this the same height as that? Is what we want to know. And it looks like it's a little bit higher. So I need to find out what the difference is so I can cut it. So, easy way of doing that is, this is flush right now, and obviously that's not moving. Take a wheel over here, crank this thing over. Take a drill chuck, run that thing all the way down so it's nice and flat. This is going to be a direct measurement deal. Boom, we have bottomed out right there. Take this and go like that. It won't fit in there, so I just put it in there like that. Yep. Need the lock to work. I'm going to bottom that out, put the lock down. The lock's down right now. Okay, now we see how much clearance we got. And we're going to crank the table up right here until it looks like we're touching. I know for sure if it's touching by taking a piece of feeler gauge material here. This is 1.5 material. Sure that's all the way down. It is. Okay, so we're not hitting yet. So if you have a thicker piece, it works a little better for this application. This is 10 thou thick. See, that's all right there. See that one go in there right now? So that was at 58. Here's the advantage of a thicker piece of material. Oh, it's a lot thicker. Okay, see how the thick one lays in there? It's not quite flat. See if you go down, it lays down. If you come up, it gets flat. When it gets dead flat, you'll start getting real close and you start paying attention. Okay, we're now touching. So that's 10 thou from 0. So if you go 10 thou down, when this thing is at 0, that'll be 0. Now I'm going to use the same feeler gauge over here, so I'm going to go ahead and 0 it right now. I'll have a direct reading at this point. There's two ways of doing this. You can do it like this, or you can do it with this measuring up here. Okay, so now we go ahead and loosen this up, clank it out of the way. We go over to our 0 point. Passed. There's 0. Crank this one to 0 also. So we don't have to eyeball it. We can just look over here and see it. 0. Okay, so now, get on until you touch. Put your feeler gauge in there, though. Remember we had that in there. Boom. Okay, you just read it right here. That's the difference in height between the two. So that's how much we're sticking up too high with that bolt. Basically almost nothing. It's about 30 thou. Now you can measure it with a 6-inch scale. Caliper might get in there. You can measure it like this. Get your number. Looks like about 50 thou roughly. You can put feeler gauges in here and measure it with those. Or you can do like what I'm going to do. We're going to back this thing down. There's 100 thou. We're going to pull it down until it stops. Lock it. And now we're going to come back up until it's where we want it to be. Okay, we're locked right there. We're at 44 thousandths. So I said it was about 50. Okay, I was off by 6 thousandths. Oh well. Jeez. My eyeballs are getting old. Alright, so we need to cut 50 thousandths off this bolt, or 55 thousandths, because we're 45 here, to 100 would be 55. And that will give us what we need. Now, am I going the right direction on that number or not? I went down, so yes, it would be correct. You got to go all the way back to 0 the other way, not that way. So we got to cut 55 thousandths off the head of this bolt to be at the same point. That's what this is. And that's if this bolt was bottomed out, which is probably what I'll do. I'll go until it stops at the bottom. And that way I'll have a full maximum thread. And the one thing I got to be sure about is right here is I got to make sure I don't get in the way of the valve spring, which is probably pretty close. So probably what I'll do is I'll go in there and I'll hit that with a grinder in there a little bit after I do this and grind the thread away right there. That way I'm getting the extra 3 threads or 2 threads that are hanging down. I pick up that way over here, which gives me more holding power. You're not going to pull this damn stud out, ever. Plus it's 7/16 instead of a 5/16, so it'll be hard to pull that anyway. But if there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure someone will figure out how to do it if they wanted to. Okay, so I'm just maximizing what I'm doing. If you're making the part, you can make it to the limit, or you can make it safe and just not go that far. So you want to know how deep that was in there? 0. We have that much thread in there. See that? That's a lot of thread. Definitely not going to pull that up. Okay, so there you go. That's how you figure all this junk out. Now I'm going to make me a stud. You can't buy a double-end stud, so I'm going to make it. I'm going to cut this thing down to a 5/16, so it'll look like that on one side and big on the other. I just have to figure out how much was sticking up here and make sure I'm under that on this side. All right, I'll be back.